Hello Tamer, Side Job back again day, and today marks the day 4 for Decklist Countdown towards BT21 World Convergence's release. With the penultimate deck today being a personal return of an old friend, that being Alphamon Ouryuken, more specifically, a pure Alphamon Ouryuken in 2.5 format that isn't the Chronicle version. Well, before we crack into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this around to help with the algorithm. And without further ado, let's crack into it. And starting off, deck list. For the egg deck, it goes without saying that the star egg is definitely the good old BT7 Doraemon, as it draws you 1 whenever it sees a source being added to the stack. And given that we also run a certain other engine within this deck, it's pretty viable to have this go off at once every turn. And that's it for the egg deck. Now on to rookie lineup. For the most part, this is a full suite of Dorumons, as we have the good old BT7 Dorumon as the searcher for the deck, as well as being able for memory tricks, since if it sees a source being added to stack, it gains you back 1 memory. And following that, we also have the enabler for this whole engine, being full playset of BT16 Dorumon, as for the most part, it allows you to cheat Kosuke onto the field by mind linking it at the start of your main phase from hand to then establish Kosuke on board, and thus allows it to gain protection against your opponent's, well, all other forms of rule that aren't deletion. And following that, to run off the rookie list, I run 2 copies of the old BT9 Dorumon. And this being a means to draw if you don't really see your searching Dorumons. Though, alternatively, if you want to go competitive, you can try to make space and throw in Structure Deck Chikurimon to help deal with meta calls such as Royal Knights. Nope, that's it for the rookie lineup. Now on to level 4s. Then for this lineup, I end up going with only running 4 copies of BT16 Durugamon, since it ends up drawing you 1 and allows you to taunt an opposing Digimon for later plays, as well as guaranteeing a all turns DP buff. And to follow that up, as I end up going for a 2-2 split between BT17 Dexteruga and the good old BT9 Dexteruga as as additional draw power for the deck. Since both have their own space in the deck, with the older Dexteruga being able to gain back memory and play efficiently, as well as being able to create a body that you could choose to either make use of or be a deterrent, since you have a blocker with retail. While BT17 Dexteruga sees its use as a second life for Darugamon, as it ends up being your trash fodder, discard fodder, most of the time, to grant your Dexteruga a second life. And is another draw engine within the deck, or alternatively allows you to take out a play cost 4 or less Digimon on board. And pretty much, in my opinion, this ends up being the Baron lineup. Though, obviously, for other options, you do have the old BT13 Daruga to fall back on. Or, alternatively, the good old BT7 one for a blocker body on board, though albeit it's the more expensive option in mind. And well, that's it for the level 4 lineup. Now on to level 5s, which for the most part, Hermie ended up being a 3-1 split of BT13 Dorogray and the ever-limited BT7 Dorogray. Both, well, with both variants, seeing play in for their own roles, with this still being pretty vague, as ends up being the ones with even more protections to work off of. Albeit now you're still covered by the Doru ability once you... excuse me. Once you're protected by the Doru Doru Star main. Though you still get to make use of the very powerful Sec +1 as long as you're an X-Antibody trait. Well, BT13 Dorogray allows you to search the top 3 to add a card, and then also just gain the DP protection, while also granting a end of turn inheritable to add a card, well, to add an X-Antibody trait Digimon as bomb source. And to also round out, to also play into another aspect of the deck, I run 2 copies of Dex Dorogray from BT9, with it allowing you to also gain memory back, effectively refunding its evolution over Dorogray, as well as being able to take out anything that's a level 4 lower once this evolves over Dorogray. And that's for the level 5 lineup. For my deck list, obviously another option that comes to mind ends up being the BT16's Dorogray, if you want to play more towards a pseudo control aspect, so to speak. Since you do run the Kosuke in here to mind link into, and be able to cheat yourself up into, well, more specifically, one route, so it doesn't really lead you into Alphamon, since the only target with this one ends up being Ouryuken, given that it's a Beast Dragon trait. And well, that's it for level 6 lineup. Now on level 5 lineup, I mean. Now on to level 6s. And for the most part, ends up being a 3-2 split between the new BT20 Alphamon, BT20 Ouryuken, and then BT8 Ouryuken. And for the most part, this is more so a matter of, well, how DNA ends up working for the deck, since, obviously, well, it goes without saying that you can make room for the older alpha ones, such as BT9 Alpha or BT13 Alpha, for their respective abilities. However, I'll go over once I go over Ouryuken. And well, obviously going over level 6 lineup, the new BT20 Alpha has a barrier allowing it to protect itself against, battle for once by sacrificing a security, while also having the on-play, mostly one digivolving effect, to recover 1, as well as being able to trigger an effect if you digivolved into it while attacking, allowing one of your Digimon in breeding, in raising, to digivolve into a Chronicle trait Digimon from hand or trash for the paying cost. Well, and within that reasoning, you also can throw away Alphamons and BT20 Ouryuken for trash, for your trash water, since for Battle Trick, they can be put evolved into it, just relying that you do need a level 5 in raising to see it through. And past that, Alphamon ends up granting Ouryuken pretty much a much more better barrier, since it ends up being any form of removal instead of specifically battle by battle. Then, for the Ouryuken suite, ends up being the 2-2 split, more so a space reason, since both are too good to let up for the deck. Obviously, good. With the older Ouryuken being slightly outpaced by newer for the aggro aspect. Obviously, BT8 Ouryuken definitely can see play, allowing it to place a XMY trait underneath to then take out a play cost 7 or less, and then be able to grant itself a 2000 DP buff and protection against deletion effect, with its mainstay being the disposable sword of the deck, by practically granting your Ouryukens any of your either Ouryuken or Alphamon the ability to unsuspend at the end of the attack. While the newer Ouryuken, named Ouryuken, has piercing and is more so one you could really digivolve into reliably given its 3 evolution cost. And it's a piercing body, and mostly on digivolving in this case, you do 1 of your opponent's Digimon, then also has the same ability to allow one of your Digimon in raising to evolve into a Chronicle trait from trash. And then it has the nifty effect of all turns, if it sees security stack being removed, it gets to delete 1 opposing Digimon with the lowest DP on board. And then with this Ouryuken, granting Ouryuken the ability to trash the top of security when you declare an attack. And obviously, previously bringing up, you can throw in good old BT9 and BT13 Alphamon into the deck. It's just a matter of principle when it comes to your DNA evolution. As we go into the only level 7 for the deck, with that being 3 copies of the new Alphamon Ouryuken Ace. Since, for the most part, you can DNA using any black Digimon or a yellow-red level 6 on board, thus ends up making a little bit, thus allowing you to play around with colors, as with my lineup, Alphamon can DNA with older Ouryuken if it ever ends up hitting field, or the Ouryuken, either Ouryuken if they were to ever remain on field, which in hindsight of the whole deck is very unlikely considering the playstyle. Since this Ouryuken's a lot more reliable in the sense that you're able to go into it via the blast DNA to ensure that you have Alphamon and Ouryuken underneath. And again, to preface, ruling-wise, as much as we also have the name, you are sort of subject to colors as well. But, once again, this lineup, the level 6 lineup that I have, definitely helps in at least fulfilling the color conditions. You know, obviously, this ends up being quite powerful, as if you DNA into it, well, for its main effect, when digivolving, it's a need one Digimon with minus 15,000 DP, and then if you DNA into it, it ends up burning away 1 security and recovers 1, which works hand in hand with its alternate effect, that whenever it sees security being removed, you gain 3 memory back, which ends up allowing it to steal turn while also taking out and attacking Digimon. Obviously, within the deck, albeit it needs a little bit of jury-rigging, you can see the good old BT9 Ouryuken be played, albeit, and definitely steep cost to the deck's ability and identity. You know, that's it for the Digimon lineup. Now on to Tamers, which, for the most part, given the nature of the deck, obviously I am running 3 copies of Kosuke Kisuga to pair with the BT16 Dorumon to enable the, well, mostly invincibility. 3 copies of Cool Boy as the Searcher Tamer in the deck, to also reliable draw engine from all the Death X evolutions in the deck, as well running the 1 copy of Yuji Masuya instead of a 4th Cool Boy. Since for one reason or another, this BT8 UG still can see use, given that, well, every time you move a X antibody out of raising, you draw 1 and gain 1 memory consistently, which is practically all the time with this deck. And well, you also then have the neat battle trick of allowing one of your black X antibody Digimon to then gain a source, well, loading up a X antibody source from hand underneath when you attack. Thus allows you to do some nifty battle tricks if you saw in the right card. And that's it for Tamer-wise. Now on to options. And starting off, for utility, it ends up being a 2-1 split of Defense Rating and Black Scramble. Defense Rating obviously for even more digging, well, even more specific digging, and hastening your stack climb. While Black Scramble also hastens stack climbing, but with its delay, allowing you to recur some pieces that you need. Then for other bits of utility, 1 copy of the good old BT9 X antibody, and 1 EX5 X antibody Pro form. Since, for the most part, both can exist in the deck as cards you could use. Since X antibody allows you to play into a few battle tricks, as well as being unable to be sniped out from via source stripping, while Pro form in and of itself needs no explanation, as it ends up being also hastening your stack climb, as well as being a recurring security if the stack it's under ever gets removed. And then to round out more option-wise, I run 1 copy of Mega Digimon Assembly, since the Cool Boys end up paying for the color requirements, allows you to reliably to use it without having to use its alternative condition of the opposing opponent having level 6. With this effectively pretty much being played at one cost, since Ouryuken will trigger its one DNA digivolving, since you're using one level 6 on board and one in hand to go into Ouryuken. And alternatively, for a security effect, it allows you to return to level 6 or higher Digimon from trash to hand while adding itself to hand, thus allowing it to set up for you to go to have Ouryuken come out. And to round out, I run 2 copies of Final Zubagon Punch as a means to further make Ouryuken even more beefier, as well as even more protected, since it prevents your opponent, well, more so beefier, since if it already makes Ouryuken even beefier with the extra 3000 DP, but once it reaches the 16 DP or more threshold, Ouryuken will then gain blocker, reboot, and an additional sec +1, which in the right circumstances makes a sec +2 with the older Doru Gray. Though, obviously, one other option for the deck ends up being Laplace's Demon for a 1-cost taunt. And that's it for the deck list itself. Now on to combos. And then on to combos. Well, starting off for your opening hand, you definitely want to see 2 rookies in combination of BT16 Doru and then either BT7 or BT9 Doru, since BT16 is definitely going to be in the back. Then from there, it is just climbing, seeing Dex Doru Guz and Dorugun Dex Doru Guz to climb up to start your draw engine. Obviously pairing Kosuke into the mix to be cheated out through BT16 Doru. And then seeing Yuji and Cool Boy early on would also help, as establishing them early will net better memory efficiency. Then from there, obviously your utility options, as well as seeing X antibodies in Pearl form, as means to also help with the climb. From there, it's just pretty much constantly creating a stack. And hopefully landing on a level 6 with Alphamon, well, any combination of Ouryumons on board or Alphamon hand, or vice versa, an Alphamon on board with an Ouryumon in hand to make use of. As well, a third pair to look out for is Mega Digimon Assembly to go into Ouryuken, or just have Ouryuken in hand and wait out for the Blast DNA. And then lastly, Final Zubagon Punch as a finisher for the deck. Well, that's it for the hand you want to look for. As for the most part, the deck is more so focused on playing to the occasion, since for the most part, either BT7 or BT16 Dorus are handy for their respective abilities to then go into Daruga to possibly taunt a target, and then if you have Kosuke underneath, and then Digi-evolving up into Dex Daruga via the situation, obviously going into BT9 when it's available, while setting BT17 Dex Druga as a fallback plan for your Drugas to revive, evolve to death, X evolve into. And then from there, it's using either Doru Grays to establish material sources via the hand or from the deck, respectively. And then obviously with BT9 Dexter Gray, just for an extra draw, as well as being able to take out something. And all the while, obviously, Cool Boy being able to establish stuff forward to then allow this climb to happen, since, for the most part, Ouryuken, Alphamon, and Ouryumon, preferably 20 Oryu, are left on field to wait out into a Blast Ace play to go into Ouryuken and have Ouryuken wreck the field, as it has the stack combined ability and, well, offensive power of Ouryumon, and then the protection of the new Alphamon. And then, obviously, given Yuji, with the Yuji established, your swings can also be even more powerful, as you can add on more DP sources like the Durga, or constantly give a sword to Ouryuken via BT8 Ouryumon being slotted in, to then, at the end of attack, be able to unsuspend, with the stack being even further augmented, as you have Pro Form to provide a few bit of recursion if the stack ever does get taken out, or have Final Zubugon Punch to also add to the killing power of Ouryuken Ace. Then, alternatively, especially given that you can DNA via the hand with Mega Digimon Assembly, well, as long as you have Alphamon Ouryumon on board while having the other in hand, to then DNA into Ouryuken Ace in hand the turn of to make use of it. And once again, as I previously said, given that you're DNAing with your going into DNA, you get the burn, scary burn, to then effectively make Mega Digimon Assembly cost 1. In a roll, the idea is just playing to the board situation and pretty much catching them off guard with the clapback with the proper setup. And well, for final thoughts, overall, BT 2.5 definitely gave some new skills to everyone's favorite knight of the beginning. And personally for me, for a little bit of backstory, Ouryuken is my second deck into the game, as is the second deck that I built following Imperial Draw as the starter deck. So, of course, there's a little bit of sentiment towards the deck. But yep, with closing thoughts aside, this has been my look at Alphamon, the pure Ouryuken, in the 2.5 format. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this around to help with the algorithm. And to not miss as we enter on to our climax of this countdown with the deck list that I think everyone will no doubt be looking forward to as the highlight of 2.5 of the 2.5 format. Well, this is Cyberdraw signing off.